After her date with the moon last year, India on Saturday placed a solar space observatory at a vantage point some 1.5 million kilometers from Earth to study the sun. Without solar energy, life on Earth as we know cannot exist. Aditya will soon begin to unravel the sun's mysteries through the 7 instruments it carries. ISRO chairman S. Somnath told Aditya L1 is meant for the world and data from the mission will be made available to researchers across the globe. We are only the fourth nation to have a mission of this class, and like the PM said after Chandrayaan 3, I want to say this is another Indian mission meant for the world, Somnath said. On the possibility of mission life extension, Somnath added, we need about 16 kg of fuel to operate the spacecraft at L1 for 5 years. We have about 100 kg left. That said, whether the mission can carry on beyond 5 years will depend on payload health and several other factors. Delhi police urged a city court on Saturday to frame charges against former Wrestling Federation Chair Chief BJP MP Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, who is accused of sexually harassing women wrestlers. Concluding arguments for Delhi Police Additional Public Prosecutor Atul Srivastav opposed Singh's submission that since some of the alleged incidents took place overseas, they do not fall within the jurisdiction of courts in Delhi. He argued that the incidents of alleged harassment outside as well as in India were part of the same offense. A brand new Boeing 737 MAX 9 aircraft of Alaska Airlines with 177 passengers made an emergency landing in Portland, Oregon as its mid-cabin exit door blew out mid-air shortly after takeoff around 5 pm Friday. The gaping hole at 16,000 feet sucked the shirt of a child. Fortunately, the seat next to the door was unoccupied. No one was seriously hurt as the depressurized plane headed to Ontario, California returned in 20 minutes. Bangladesh goes to the polls Sunday with PM Sheikh Hasina expected to win a fourth straight term due to a boycott by main opposition BNP amid sporadic violence. Results for the 300 seats are expected Monday. As India looks to jointly combat violent extremism and radicalization, Hasina's return is key to peace and stability in the region. India has worked to impress on the US, which has imposed sanctions on Bangladesh nationals involved in undermining the democratic election process, the need to work with Hasina's Awami League. At least 14 arson attacks were reported in 16 hours till Saturday morning, including a fire in Benapole Express in which 4 people were killed. Schools in Noida, Greater Noida and Ghaziabad have extended their winter break till January 14 for students up to class 8 due to severe fog and cold in the region. Classes for senior students from 9 to 12 will continue because of board exams next month, but timing have been changed. Their classes will be held from 10 am to 3 pm. The Loktantrik Adhyapak Manch has appealed to Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena to extend the break in Delhi school till January 15, but no call has been taken yet. Delhi schools had winter vacations from January 1 to January 6. Schools were reopened on Monday. Congress is making an effort to strengthen its position in all 545 parliamentary constituencies and will deploy observers across each of the SS and improve its poll preparedness for Lok Sabha elections, Party President Mallikarjun Kharge said on Saturday. Releasing the logo sticker and a short video of Manipur to Mumbai Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra set to begin January 14, Kharge said this will help Congress strengthen its hand ahead of seat-sharing talks with India bloc partners. We are working on all 500 plus constituencies. We have finalized parliament observers. That list will be announced shortly and they will also assess each constituency. Once negotiations with India alliance members are finalized, the exact number of seats will also come out. It may so happen we are thinking that we are getting A seat. Suppose our alliance partner doesn't agree and says take C seat. Therefore, we are working on all constituencies, he added. Some parts of Delhi continued to reel under cold day conditions for the fourth consecutive day. Sunlight remained missing through the day with a layer of uplifted fog covering the skies. Though the temperature is predicted to show a gradual rise over the next few days, cold day conditions are likely in isolated pockets of the national capital on Sunday. According to Indian Meteorological Department, Lodi Road witnessed a cold day with a maximum temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, 6 degrees below normal. However, Safdarjung, which is the city's base station, did not record cold day condition as the maximum temperature settled at 15.2 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees below normal. A cold day is declared when the minimum temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius and the departure of maximum temperature from normal is 4.5 degrees or above. At 13 degrees Celsius, SPS Mayur Vihar was the coldest station on Sunday. Officials said the normal mark for the automatic weather stations like SPS Mayur Vihar or Jafarpur is unavailable and past record of 30 years is needed to determine the normal mark. The day temperature remained below 15 degrees Celsius at many stations like Palam Ridge, Narela, etc. Cold day conditions are likely at isolated places on Sunday. Due to uplifted fog, the maximum temperature did not rise much. However, as a western disturbance is expected to impact the region from January 8 night, the temperature is predicted to rise gradually, said Kuldeep Srivastava, scientist and head Regional Weather Forecasting Center. On Saturday, the minimum temperature was 8.9 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees above normal. Several parts of the city saw moderate fog in the morning hours with visibility of 500 meters at Safdarjung and Palam. According to IMD, the maximum and minimum temperatures are likely to around 16 and 8 degrees Celsius respectively. The day temperature is likely to hover around 16 degrees for the next few days. Moderate fog is expected during the morning hours on Sunday and Monday, while very light rain has been predicted on Tuesday. Delhi's air quality remained in very poor category with an air quality index of 320. According to Air Quality Early Warning System for Delhi, the forecasting body under the Union Ministry of Earth Sciences, the air quality is predicted to stay in very poor till Monday. At a time when capital continues to freeze, many people do not have the comfort of protection from the elements. Be it Kashmiri Gate or Chandni Chowk, Sarai Kale Kha or Nizamuddin, there are people they are forced to live on the street and sleep under the open sky. Many of them are suffering from the bone-chilling cold because in the past 1 year, several night shelters operated by Delhi Urban Shelter Improvement Board have been demolished, and also have such shelters are not entirely safe for women and families. Near Vasudev Ghat at Kashmiri Gate, trying to warm themselves as best as they could after the shelters were demolished. Many like me were forced back on the streets, said Dileep, a native of Bihar and a seasonal worker. I take up work for daily wages or do add jobs at weddings, but I currently have to work due to current ban on constructive activities. Homelessness activities, Sunil Kumar, this. Okay. According to DUSIB officials, around 175 tents were set up for the homeless under its winter action plan of 23-24. They also claim to have made other arrangements such as providing mattresses and blankets at the homes. Vicky, who is caretaker at a home near Turkoman Gate, said yes, DU has put up tents but no additional mattresses and blankets have been provided. Also, the toilets still remain defunction. Delhi Planning Minister Atishi on Saturday said AAP government set new benchmarks in the field of public services in 23 despite facing various challenges. Releasing Statistical Handbook 23, which has been prepared by the Department of Economics and Statistics, Atishi said her government remained focused on the welfare of people, which reflected the way the per capita income increased more than 150% than the national average, and minimum wages of skilled and unskilled workers were set highest in the country. Sharing the highlights of the handbook, Atishi said the per capita income increased from rupees 4 lakh in 2023 fiscal, registering a 14% growth, while the national average was rupees 1 lakh. This means Delhi's per capita income is 158% more than the national average, she said. Talking about the city's public transport, Atishi said Delhi now had more than 7,000 buses running under DTC and cluster bus scheme, of which 1,300 were electric. Kejriwal government has worked on to enhance public transportation services in Delhi. As a result, in 23, more than 41 lakh commuters travelled every day on DTC and cluster buses, she said. Delhi is leading the electric vehicle revolution in the country. In the year gone by, the number of electric buses in the capital has increased by 1300, surpassing all other states of the country, Atishi added. Bus ridership reached the pre-COVID levels in 1819. DTC and cluster buses together carried nearly 42 lakh passengers every day. The number fell down drastically during the 2 years of COVID-19. In 21-22, the average daily ridership in public buses was recorded at nearly 25 lakh. Speed limit cautions obscured by trees. Some boards too small to be spotted by motorists, other damaged or grimy. Times of India checked of signboards and arterial stretches on Saturday proved that drivers can be truly flummoxed when pressing the escalator. On Outer Ring Road on the section between Chirag Delhi and Munirka, the speed limit on the board showed 30 km per hour for the vehicles, which changed just a few meters away to 60 km per hour for cars and 40 km per hour for heavy commercial vehicles. The state of affairs can be gauged from the irony of the Union Transport Secretary missing 3 speed signs on Friday and being fined for transgressing the permitted speed limit. On Saturday, several stretches including Outer Ring Road and the interstate bus terminal at Kashmiri Gate and Mahatma Gandhi Road and found that at these stretches the speed limit mentioned on the signboards differed from another nearby. On Mahatma Gandhi Road from Rajghat towards Red Fort, there were no boards informing motorists of what speed to maintain, and yet there were cameras to capture speed violations. On the opposite carriageway, there were a couple of boards, but they were not clearly depicting the speed limit. The Chirag Delhi Munirka anomaly is replicated on Ring Road, where the carriageways from Vikas Marg towards IP State have boards at one spot telling motorists the speed limit of 50 km per hour for cars and 40 km per hour for heavy vehicles, and then a few meters away putting the permitted speed of 60 km per hour and 40 km per hour respectively. Delhi Development Authority will organize the 2-day international kite festival Patang Utsav at Bansera, the city's first bamboo park at Sarai Kale Khan, January 13 to 14. A pavilion displaying the history of kites, classical Patang Bazaar to buy and fly kites, traditional food and handicraft stalls, cultural performances and interesting activities for kids would be added attractions of the festival. DDA will bring professional artists from Gujarat for flying and displaying used kites. The pavilion or gallery will basically highlight the use of kites in the times of war, fighter kites, significance of kites in India, etc. Professional artists will also share detail in innovative kites. At the festival, cultural performances by folk artists showcasing India's cultural diversity will be other attraction. Overall, the festival will be an excellent recreational opportunity for people on the auspicious occasion of Lohri, Makar Sankranti, Bihu and Pongal, officials said. To enhance the ecological character of Yamuna floodplains and make it a people-friendly, Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena had laid the foundation of Bansera in August 22 and the same was developed in just 6 months. Over 25,000 special varieties of bamboo saplings brought from Assam were planted here. A place can provide much needed public spaces in the middle of the capital. The authority has ensured that the rich biodiversity of the floodplain is preserved and maintained at the place, said the official. This year, apart from New Delhi Municipal Council, DDA will plant at least 1 lakh bulbs of tulips and most of them at Bansera, followed by Asita and 18 parks. We have also planted seasonal flowers at Bansera and some varieties have already bloomed. We are expecting heavy footfall here in coming spring season, said the official. Delhi government will take inputs from all stakeholders for preparing the budget estimates for the financial year 24-25, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said on Saturday. Chairing a meeting of ministers on the upcoming budget, Kejriwal said the thrust will continue to be on education, health, electricity, water, roads and infrastructure sectors. The upcoming budget will be the Aam Aadmi Party's last before the 25th Delhi Assembly polls, with the Lok Sabha elections due in April and the notification of the same is likely to be made in March. Kejriwal said the Delhi budget will be presented this year in the month of February. The meeting of the Council of Ministers on Saturday was the first this year for preparing the budget. The Chief Minister directed all the ministers to speed up the budget preparations and decide their priorities within a week. There will be another meeting next week with ministers and officers when the priority areas will be finalized. The government said in a statement, adding that noteworthy suggestions from all MLAs and all stakeholders will also be incorporated in the budget estimates. This budget will also give many big gifts to the people of Delhi. This will bring more happiness to the lives of the Delhiites, the statement added. Officials said the Chief Minister held a detailed discussion with all ministers and discussed the possible priority areas. Discussions also have held regarding new schemes that can be introduced in water, roads and urban development. This is the first time that Atishi, a finance minister, will present Delhi's budget. Rapid regional transport system stations and the iconic Namo Bharat trains are now available for short-term hire for hosting events, film shootings, documentaries, TV commercials, etc. The booking in Delhi Ghaziabad Meerut corridor can be done for rupees 3 to 2 to 3 lakh per hour depending on the area of booking. With the proliferation of OTT platforms and the digital landscape, there has been a surge in the utilization of public transport systems, particularly metro rail, as backdrops for filming features, film, documentaries and web series, said an official of National Capital Region Transport Corporation, which is executing the project. The official added that NCRTC's decisions to open its doors to such activities provides a lucrative opportunity for filmmakers seeking dynamic and modern shooting locations. RRTS premises can also be rented for event purposes other than shooting. Namo Bharat trains can be booked for event during night hours. According to NCRTC officials, the charge for booking inside a station or train will be rupees 2 lakh for an hour. However, the fee will be rupees 3 lakh per hour for booking both inside train and station, while NCRTC will charge rupees 2.5 lakh rupee per hour for booking depots or sites. The architectural and design brilliance of RRTC stations and Namo Bharat trains make them exceptional choices for film shooting. Drawing inspiration from the vibrant use of the peacock feather, RRTS stations showcase striking blue and beige tones, extending their captivating palette to their exterior facades. These stations offer well lit and airy spaces suffused with natural light, further enhancing their visual appeal. Beige perforated panels and louvers facilitate smooth airflow, adding both aesthetic charm and practical functionality, said an official. Meanwhile, Namo Bharat trains represent the epitome of modernity, boasting sleek designs and array of passenger-centric amenities. With their aerodynamic profile designed to miniature air drag at high speeds, these trains provide wide gangways, tinted panoramic windows, and an impeccably seamless travel experience, making them optimal settings for cinematic storytelling, said the official. The 82-kilometer long Delhi Ghaziabad Meerut RRTS corridor will have 25 stations inclusive of 2 depot stations. Additionally, local transit services are slated to be offered on RRTS network in Meerut, covering 13 stations within a span of 23 kilometers to cater to local transit needs. Daydreaming is the most common kind of zoning or spacing out. However, frequent and long periods of zoning out that starts causing dysfunction in day-to-day life can also be indicative of certain medical and psychological conditions. Maladaptive daydreaming is more than spacing out. It involves executive vivid fantasies, and the child may become so engrossed in them that he may spend hours to the point of replacing human contact. Some kids have a hard time forming successful peer relationships. Making a friend is as important as getting as a grade. If your child is struggling to interact with peers, you can try some coaching at home. Emphasize taking turns and sharing during family playtime. Social scripts are used for more intensive guidance. These include everyday conversations that kids practice with their parents. It's important to meet up with a teacher as they will be able to provide a sense of the child's peer interactions. You can host the child's friends at home for play activities. You can also enroll your child in sports. It's important that you don't place your own social expectations on children. A mental health consultations may be required if the behavioral patterns do not change. Former President Ramnath Kovind-led panel on One Nation, One Election has invited suggestions from the public for making appropriate changes in existing legal administrative framework to enable simultaneous elections in the country. In a public notice, the committee said that the suggestions received by January 15 would be taken up for considerations. People can post their suggestions on the committee's website or send email to this. Since its constitution in September last year, the committee has held 2 meetings. It also recently wrote to political parties and sought their views and an interaction on a mutually agreed date on the proposal put up to hold simultaneous elections, Lok Sabha and Assembly elections and other polls. The committee had later sent a reminder to the parties, which included national parties, 33 state parties and 7 registered unrecognized parties. The panel also heard views of the Law Commission on simultaneous polls. According to its term of reference, the panel is meant to examine and make recommendations for holding simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies, municipalities and panchayats, keeping in view the existing framework under the constitution. Since his first term in 2014, PM Modi has advocated one nation, one election, citing adverse impact on development due to MCC restrictions and the drain of resources. Prime Minister Narendra Modi engaged with the police chief of state and on the second day of the 58th National Conference of Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police in Jaipur on Saturday. The annual 3-day conference being held at the Rajasthan International Centre on January 5 to 7 saw marathon discussions on the 4 key topics: cyber security, internal security, legal reforms and human trafficking. Sources said the PM arrived at the venue shortly after 8:30 and left after 8 pm. Following a detailed discussion on a range of subjects, he also addressed the DGPs and motivated them to keep working on the security of the country. Union Home Minister Amit Shah and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval also attended the conference. On Saturday, cyber security took the center stage at the conference for about 3 hours, featuring the participation of prominent cyber experts and teams from across the country. PM Modi received a detailed briefing on the ongoing efforts in the field of cyber security. At 1 pm, PM Modi and Amit Shah shared a lunch with all DGPs and IGPs. During an hour-long lunch break, Modi personally interacted with each officer and exchanged ideas. According to the sources, the Taj Group catered the lunch with special emphasis on showcasing the flavors of Rajasthan cuisine. Suggestions were actively sought from the DGPs of all states to address the issue of internal security. Doval shared insightful perspectives during a comprehensive session. Discussions were held for about 4 hours on the necessity of changing laws and increasing punishment and fines. Shah and the police chiefs of various states presented their views on this critical subject. A 2-hour-long session was dedicated to deliberations and human trafficking. Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai made an informative presentation on the subject, followed by an in-depth discussion on its root causes and preventive measures. Sources said as many as 11 sessions were held on multiple subjects during the day. The DGPs and chiefs of different police agencies also shared critical information during the conference. Meanwhile, police took swift action, placing NSUI State President Abhishek Chaudhary under house arrest for threatening to show black flags to PM Modi. Other members of the student organizations were also detained. The authorities maintained a strict vigil to ensure the smooth proceedings of the conference, said a senior police officer. Union Defence Minister Rajnath Singh laid it the foundation stone of what is being claimed will be world's largest Gurukul at a ceremony in Haridwar on Saturday. At the event hosted by Yoga Guru Swami Ramdev's Patanjali group, Singh underlined the contribution of ancient Gurukuls to Indian culture and added that present-day Gurukuls will be emblems of purity and morality and serve as models for the educational institutions. It will give impetus on the cultural development. Singh added, while there is no denying that modern education is the need of the hour, our cultural heritage must be protected as well. For this, we need Gurukuls. Unlike old Gurukuls, these are modern, using state-of-the-art facilities. Hopefully, they will use emerging and cutting-edge technology and artificial intelligence and go beyond. Union Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav, Uttarakhand CM Pushkar Singh Dhami and BJP National Spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi were present at the event. However, 30,000 people from Haridwar and its neighbouring areas also attended. Ramdev had on Thursday announced plans of over rupees 800 crore investment in the 118-year-old Gurukul Mahavidyalaya at Haridwar in whose 300 Bigha campus the Gurukul is being set up. In the next 5 years, Patanjali will invest rupees 5 to 10,000 crore over different educational projects, Ramdev had said. At the event on Saturday, the Yoga Guru said, we were educated at a Gurukul and had a humble beginning, but we have succeeded in establishing a huge economic empire, every penny of which will be used to serve human beings. Acharya Balakrishna referred to the heydays of Gurukul Mahavidyalaya, which has been visited 5 p.m. in the past. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed ISRO scientists on Saturday for putting India, saying India creates yet another landmark. President Draupadi Murmu too congratulated space scientists for the mission, which is being led by Project Director Nigar Shaji, which pointing out the significant participation of women scientists in the ISRO missions takes women empowerment too onto a higher orbit. The PM wrote on X, India's first solar observatory Aditya L1 reaches its destination. It is a testament of the relentless dedication of our scientists in realizing among the people complex and intricate space missions. I join the nation applauding this extraordinary feat. We will continue to pursue new frontiers of science for the benefit of humanity. Lauding the achievement, President Murmu said on X, another grand feat accomplished by ISRO as part of Indian maiden solar mission Aditya L1, the observatory has been placed in the final orbit and reached its destination at Lagrange Point 1. Congratulations to the entire Indian scientist community for the great achievement. This mission will enhance our knowledge of the Sun-Earth system and benefit the entire humanity, she added. Union Home Minister Amit Shah called the moment another milestone in Bharat's journey through space. Our first solar observatory Aditya L1 reaches its destination in the space. It is a momentous event in history that takes us closer to our civilizational goal of achieving human welfare through excellence in science and technology, he posted on X. Space Minister Jitendra Singh said Aditya L1 will discover the mysteries of Sun-Earth connection from Woon Walk to Sundance. What a glorious turn of year for Bharat, he wrote on X. While Minister Anurag Thakur called the successful insertion of Aditya into the hollow orbits another historic moment in the quest of space exploration, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said, first the moon, now the sun, our space journey is unstoppable. The US Supreme Court agreed to consider whether Colorado can bar Donald Trump from the presidential ballot, taking up a landmark constitutional and political clash stemming from his attempt to overturn the 20 elections. The justices will hear the case on an expedited basis with arguments on February 8. They will review a Colorado Supreme Court decision that said Trump engaged in interaction and fortified his right to run for president again by trying to nullify Joe Biden's election victory and indicating the delay of deadly January 6, 21 Capitol assault. Fitting farewell, David Warner was denied the chance to score the match-winning runs in his final debut but contributed 57 as Australia cantered to their victory target of 130 runs to beat Pakistan by 8 wickets and sweep the series 3-0 on Saturday. Pakistan, looking to end a run of 16 successive losses in Australia since 95, had added 47 runs to their overnight tally at the cost of their final 3 wickets to be dismissed for 115 an hour before lunch. Playing his 112th match before retiring from the format, Warner shared a hug with opening partner and a childhood friend Usman Khawaja at the boundary rope and was given a guard of honor by tourists as he came to the crease. Khawaja departed leg before for a duck in the opening over, but Warner played like a man on a mission and was soon cutting the ball through overs in trademark style for his first 4. He brought up his 37th Test half-century with a single to square leg, and Australia went to lunch with a win all but in the bag of 19-139 runs from the target. Although not quite the polytechnics that featured in the early part of Warner's career, that were 7 boundaries in his 75-ball inning before spinner Shahid Khan trapped him in front of Australia. It meant the world to me. I have given absolutely everything to play this game and to sacrifice a lot of things to be in my position that I am, Warner said of the ovation. I had given a lot of ups and downs through my career. I have had to come back and overcome adversity. I have done that, I think, very, very well. I think today that showed to me I do have a lot of support, and I am very, very grateful for that. Warner's inning gave him a tally of 8,000 test runs at an average of 44, making him the 5th most prolific Australian batsman of all time, behind Ricky Ponting, Alan Border, Mark Waugh and Steve Smith. Marnus Labuschagne got the World Test Champions across the line with a single shortly after Warner's departure.